Hi team, my name's Chris Ball. Now, I'm an accountant, nearly 20 years at finance director level. I've been saving and investing for on and off my whole life. I think more and more recently, I've been getting more and more into it and learning the habits that have allowed me to achieve my financial goals. But one of the things I wanted to address is that everyone says that once you hit this 100,000, your wealth suddenly skyrockets because, they quote Charlie Munger or they've seen the charts. Now, it's true that your wealth does increase quicker, but not at a percentage level, but as an absolute number. But let's be honest, money doesn't suddenly explode after this point or magically transform because you've got one more zero. What really happens is once you've built the habits and the discipline to reach this goal, three things take over. One is time, two is efficiency, and three is scale. And this is the point where your money starts to work harder than you. Time is the multiplier. It's the one factor you can't negotiate with, you cannot control. Given decades of compounding, you can achieve your goals. Start young, but with a little. Even if you can only save a small amount, given enough decades of investing, you can still end up with a significant balance and achieve your financial freedom. You may not have 60 years, you might be doing this or coming into this later in your journey, but you might have more disposable income to invest and save. Now, for those who can, that's great, but not everyone can. So starting as soon as you can is always better than not starting at all. Ronald Reed was a janitor. Now, he ended up with over $8 million in his account, in his inheritance. And this was just from decades and decades of small incremental investments of simple dividend stock. And this is just an example of one of many in many, many books that quote that time and small investments build up over time and will compound into something of very meaningful significance for you. Now, for me, the most important point wasn't the 100,000. It was the crossover point, the point where my interest from my savings was making more than I could save. And for many, that is often a lot lower than what they think. 75,000 at 4% is £250 a month interest, which for most people, that's still quite a lot, but it is doable. It just shows you don't need 100,000 to start getting those wins and getting that confidence to keep going and seeing that your sacrifices are translating into meaningful returns. Scale is why people say the rich get richer. Now, two people investing in the same thing, same risk, but materially different absolute number of returns, not a different percentage, just an absolute number. Let's give an example. £100 invested, a 10% return is £10. £500,000 invested at 10% return is £50,000. Significantly different outcome. Obviously, the starting principle is much higher. Same risk, same return, but your capital is bigger and the effect multiplies. The key takeaway here is that scale doesn't make your money skyrocket instantly, but it does make each stage so much faster than the one before. The second around efficiency is debt. Clearing debt, because debt is negative compounding. It's much higher interest than the amount you can save, amount you can earn. Therefore, it's just eroding all that interest and all that hard work. So you need to clear your debt first. First 100K takes maybe 7 to 8 years if you're investing 10,000. Second 5, third 3.8, then 3, then 2.5, then nearly 1 by the time you hit $1 million. But that's why the first 100K feels slow. Once you pass it, the snowball effect kicks in. You can invest and save, but really you want to try and protect this from tax. So tax wrappers like pensions, ISAs, 401k accounts, etc., they shelter these growths from tax. They might look boring, but over the decades, the difference is massive. The third is emergency fund. So we've talked about this in other videos, but emergency fund is essentially the money you have when things go wrong, things out of your control, which inevitably they do. And this is what you need to offset any of these such instances. And it will help not to derail any of the hard work you've done. The fourth is high yielding accounts. So do not put your cash in the bank earning fractions of a percent. Put your money in high yielding interest accounts as a minimum. So you constantly are getting as much interest as you can to keep that going. The first 100K is mostly through savings, not through interest. But as soon as you've got that 100K, that efficiency, that yield is what will really make the thing speed up, not just what you're saving. So building wealth is hard. It takes years of commitment. It needs developed habits, really. That's the most key important point here, and protecting your system. The first 100K just proves you can do it. But after that, it doesn't change anything really. You're just continuously saving. But it allows you to get that first step towards your journey to £1 million or whatever number you're trying to save for financial freedom. Now, the real acceleration comes after that with the time, the scale, and efficiency we talked about. And that's what allows your money to grow faster, particularly for most people, faster than you can save. That's when compounding feels real. Now, if you've enjoyed that video, if any of those tips have been useful, please subscribe and like this video.